because I brought some more yarn. More yarn. Oh my god. I've got to stop purchasing stuff. All right, let's be real. So on the YouTube timeline, these videos are going to be a little bit spaced out, so it won't seem like I have as much of a yarn buying problem as I actually do in real life. In real life, I've made multiple large purchases of yarn in just a matter of months. So yeah, we kind of have a problem. I brought enough yarn to last me like 5 years. It's ridiculous. All right, so we've got a bunch of drops yarn today, and then I've got like one other yarn that I've also collected along the way that I'm going to include in this particular video. But the reason why I placed another drops order was because I'm currently working on a project and I ran out of yarn, so I had to buy some more to replace it. And look, the company that I buy from is in Denmark, and the shipping to Australia is very expensive. Although when you factor the cost per ball and everything like that, like the yarn actually still works out way affordable than anything I can buy locally. Well, not way affordable, but more affordable. It's a more affordable option. Anyways, the shipping, like, it's tiered obviously based on your weight, but the maximum weight you can get is 2 kgs, and the shipping's like $45, $47, somewhere around there. And like, to be honest, I was like, I'm placing an order. I'm just going to maximize out my order and buy a shit ton of yarn. But I'll be real, like, I've got such a backlog of like yarn and projects that I want to make that I was actually struggling to find projects to line up for yarn. I was actually going out there and searching for pieces to make. So I was kind of like looking at some of the drops yarn, and I was like, oh, these are some of the other, particularly the alpaca varieties that I want to try. And then I was trying to find a suitable project for that yarn. That's how I went about this particular order. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I've got all these ideas in my head already and I know exactly what I want to make. I just need to buy the yarn for it. It was kind of the other way around. It's like, I'm buying some yarn. I need to find some projects for it. And I think this is where we're going to the territory of like, this is not a good idea, because now I'm possibly just going to be making things for the sake of making things. But here we are. Anyways, the yarn responsible for me placing this particular order is this guy. So this is the Drops Merino Extra Fine yarn. It's their 100% Merino Superwash yarn. It's 8 to ply or a DK worsted weight yarn. I've got this in the color number 06. Now, the website that I bought it from versus the Drops website, the color is actually labeled differently. So one's called brown, one's called taupe. I don't know what color it's meant to be. To me, it's a gray, but we'll go with taupe. I think it is more of a taupe than a brown for sure. There's not even like any brown to this. But anyways, I picked up 4 more balls of this yarn, and this is for my Colette pullover by Sari Nordlund. Now, I initially brought 11 balls of yarn for that particular project, thinking that would be enough, but nay. The gauge and like the yarn usage in that pattern is like so way off that like I brought more yarn than I thought I would need based on what the pattern like called for at the time, because based on other people's notes, everyone said everything is like way off. And so I brought a yarn quantity that would be somewhat, it was like similar to another sweater that I was ordering yarn for that was knit with like, you know, detailed stitch that should use up a decent amount of yarn. So anyways, I was just like way off. So all up for the Colette pullover, I've now ordered a total of 15 balls of this yarn, which seems like too much, but I don't know. Anyways, this particular batch of yarn, this I think actually cost me, some of the yarn for this was actually cheaper than what I purchased prior, because when I give my total cost for the yarn, I'm factoring in the shipping cost as well, but I brought a lot of lightweight, like smaller balls of yarn. So I've got a large quantity in terms of balls of yarn this round in order to divide that shipping cost across. So it makes the final cost per ball a little bit cheaper than all my prior orders, like only by a few cents, but like I thought that was interesting. But this one was $2.80 US on the website. That equates to $4.36 Australian. When I factor in the shipping cost, is $5.11 per ball, just for the extra 4 balls that I brought to finish that particular project. Another project that I have on my needles at the moment where I'm a little bit concerned I may run out of yarn is my Arctic Light Sweater by Kika. Now, this one I initially brought a different color base yarn, and I brought some of this Drops Kid Silk yarn to go with it. I didn't like the color combos, so I ended up buying a different base color. And I changed my mind in terms of sizing. So initially I was going to knit a size medium, so I brought the quantities for a medium. And then when I brought the second color of yarn, I changed my mind. I was like, I'm actually going to knit to a size large. And look, there's a possibility that I may end up running out of the mohair because I only brought it to a medium. But now that I've started like knitting the piece, I've like, again, that one is just like the sizing's all over the shop on that one. So I initially sized up in my needles in order to meet gauge, and I knit it to a size large, and everything was coming out way too big. So I ripped it back to reduce the sleeve stitch count to like a medium, and then I was just still not really happy with how like loose the gauge was. So now I've ripped back the whole thing, started again, and knit it on a smaller needle, but still knitting to a large for the body, medium for the sleeve. But now that it's on a smaller needle, the sleeves are going to be to a medium. I'm not sure if I'm going to need this one extra ball of mohair, but I added it to my cart anyways, just in case, because I don't really want to place another drops order. I mean, I've got so many drops projects at the moment that there's a possibility that I'm going to run out of yarn and have to place another order, but I'm hoping that's a next year problem and then not like a next month problem for me. But anyways, this is the Drops Kid Silk yarn. It's 75% mohair, 25% silk. It's 2-ply lace yarn. This is in the color number 20, light beige. Just got the one ball of this. It cost me $4.05 US, which is $6.31 Australian. Factoring in shipping, it was $7.39 total. And that one's going towards the Arctic Light Sweater. I did buy some more mohair, this time in black, which is the number, was it 02. So I purchased 12 balls of this, and this is going towards 2 projects. So I think I will talk about the other yarns that these projects are tied to, and I just mentioned that I will include it with this mohair, but same price and everything for this particular one, 12 balls of that for 2 projects. The first project that I'm going to be making with the black mohair, I'm going to be pairing it with this yarn. This is one from Bendigo. So this is the Bendigo Woolen Mills Whisper 8-ply. So this is their 100% superwash merino. And let me tell you, the difference between the Drops and the Bendigo is very, very different. The Drops one almost feels like a little bit more cool to the touch, whereas the Bendigo one is like really warm and soft. It feels more like standard wool, whereas like the Drops one kind of feels like you can kind of tell that it's maybe treated. Like, I don't know, it kind of feels like cooler to the touch. I don't know how to explain that properly, but it's a bit weird. This one feels like it's nicer quality. But with this particular one, so this is 8-ply, so technically a DK weight yarn. The color is number 2511 coal or black. I've brought 6 balls of this, and I plan to make 2 projects with this yarn as well. Only one of them is going to be paired with this black mohair. So the one where I'm using the mohair and the merino, I didn't tell you the cost. This one is $22.95 per ball. I got free shipping, so no additional cost. If we break that down to like cost per 50 grams, because these are 200 gram balls, that comes to $5.74 per 50 grams. So just a few cents more than the Drops. The thing with this Bendigo merino is I'm pretty sure it's limited edition, and the color range is super duper limited. So the Drops has like a better color range. Anyways, so 3 of these balls plus 6 of the mohairs are going to go towards the, I'm going to say this wrong, Stornoway sweater. I actually I was like looking up projects using the Bendigo yarn to see what people have made with it, and someone had made this particular sweater without mohair though, in the black, and I was like, oh, that looks nice, and I just like the look of like the texture in this particular one. So this is a pattern by Cheryl McTari. should have practiced these before I started. And so yeah, that's what I plan to make with these two. So it's a really nice like oversized jumper. So I'm a little bit concerned that this is not going to be enough yarn to actually make the sweater, but I don't know. It's one of those things where you just gotta like trust in the pattern, but it's like really challenging for me to do that. The other pattern that I'm going to be making just with the merino held by itself is going to be the Week and Glow sweater, which is a pattern by Julia Frio. So that's just like your basic raglan. It's a lot more fitted. So it's interesting that like one of these sweaters is like way super fitted and the other one's like way super oversized, yet they both should only require 3 balls of the base yarn. I know like one's going to have the mohair and it's in larger needles and whatnot, but like still, I don't know. The math just doesn't math like in my head right now for that. But those are the 2 sweaters that I'm going to be making in black yarn. I'm so excited. And actually another black piece that I'm going to be knitting up. I'm just going through a little bit of a black phase at the moment where I'm super excited for all these black pieces. I feel like I started my knitting journey being like everything has to be black, and then I was like, oh, let me buy some other like colors and like other neutrals. And I mean there are some other colors in this particular order as well, but like we've got a few black pieces and it brings me joy, so much joy. Anyways, another black piece that I'm going to make is a cardigan. So I've got this Drops Nord yarn. So this is 45% alpaca, 30% polyamide, 25% wool. It's a fingering weight yarn. This is in the color number 02 black. I've got 8 balls of this and it cost me $2.20 US, $3.43 Australian, including shipping. It was $4 per ball. I am going to be pairing it with the remaining mohair that I've got here for, I'm not sure which cardigan I'm going to make just yet, but it's either going to be the cocktail cardigan by Trico Design. Is that how you say it properly? Trico? I'm pretty sure I said tricot like in the past. So I'm either going to make that one or I'm going to make the April cardigan by Petite Knit. To be honest, there's not too much difference from what I can like get from just reading the Ravelry pages between these 2 cardigans. The main differences is around like the button bands and what yarn they're knit with. So the cocktail cardigan is knit straight with a DK weight, but it does say that you can sub it out for like other yarns, and the Petite Knit one is knit with a fingering and a mohair, but again it says you can sub out for like single strand DK. So they are like interchangeable, but their samples have been knit in one's DK, one's fingering plus mohair. And then the button bands, one is knit afterwards and one is knit as you go. And so yeah, I'm leaning towards the button band that's knit as you go because I just know it's going to be like easier. But then is it really that big a deal if I have to knit a button band separately? I don't know. So yeah, I struggled a little bit with buying yarn for this particular one and how many meters I should get, because although these patterns are basically the same, like the yardage is a little bit different for 2 of them. So I think I definitely have enough for the Petite Knit cardigan, and I should have enough, but I'm not sure for the cocktail cardigan. Why do I keep calling this one the Petite Knit one? The April cardigan. The April cardigan. I would definitely sub out that one for a double knit button band though. I would not do a ripped button band on that one. So again, do I have enough yarn? I don't know. But I'm going to make one of those cardigans. If you've made either of these cardigans, like let me know like which ones you think is like the best. But yeah, going to use one of those. Next yarn is also for a cardigan. We're also going through a cardigan phase. Like all of these projects I picked were cardigans, and I'm like, we're really going to have to like space these out. At the moment in real time, I'm working on a lot of sweaters, and I'm like, man, right now it would be great to like have a cardigan in the mix and like save one of those sweaters or 2 of those sweaters for like later, so that I've got a sweater and a cardigan to work on in parallel. So there's a difference between knitting flat and knitting in the round. You know what I mean? But anyways, I picked up some of the brushed alpaca silk. I've been super keen to try this one. So this is 77% alpaca, 23% silk. They call it an Aranal worsted weight yarn. And this particular one is in the color 32 moss. picked up 17 balls of this, and it cost me $2.35 US, $3.66 Australian, including shipping. It was $4.28 per ball. Now, I know a lot of people will use the alpaca instead of the mohair in projects, but I have read a lot of people saying like, oh, but there's a big difference, like it's a lot thicker, and like, you know, based on weight, one's called a lace weight and one's called an Aran or worsted weight yarn, and they're definitely different in terms of thickness. Let me show you here. This is one of the comparisons where I was like, can someone show me like what the actual thickness difference is? So there you can see the green is the, doesn't want to focus, the green is the alpaca silk, and then the black is the mohair. So you can see the actual core strand is like way thicker. Oh, I might have to do a better separate zoom in on that one, but you can see the green, which is the alpaca, is definitely thicker than the mohair. The actual core center strand is like way thicker. So yeah, do keep that in mind if you are subbing. I feel like it'll still probably work out just fine. If you do sub it, you just might have a more denser fabric than if you're using the mohair. So I guess it depends on the end result that you're wanting to get, to whether you want like a dense fabric or a very light airy fabric, like as to whether or not the alpaca silk is a good sub for mohair. But yeah, in terms of like feel, this one definitely feels a lot like softer. I don't really have an issue with the mohairs that I've got from drops. I don't really find them scratchy. People do say certain colors are more scratchy than the others. I don't know. They feel the same to me. They're a little, like, they've got tiny little prickles, but like it's not enough to aggravate me. I don't think I'm that sensitive to it. But this one's definitely like, this is just like a cozy, cuddly, like teddy bear kind of feel to it. So with this alpaca, I'm going to be making the Darjeeling cardigan, which is a pattern by Knitting for Olive. This is one of those patterns where I was like, I had seen it and I was like, oh, it's kind of cool, but like, I don't know if I really want this type of cardigan. It is meant to be knit with like 3 strands of mohair, and I plan to hold 2 strands of the alpaca together to kind of achieve a similar result. Yeah, I don't know. I was tossing up around the color. I was going to go for like a beige, but then I was like, oh, how many other beige things have I made recently? Do I want a beige? And I plan to make like the no frills cardigan, which is in, what color is that? Like marzipan or something, which is very similar. It's more of a lighter, like white kind of a beige. Then the beiges from drops are more like greyish, in my opinion, leaning grey. Particularly like just the standard beige is actually quite dark. So I was like, oh, they're going to be different, but then they're going to be like quite similar. So then like in the last like final hour, I swapped out the color for like this green, and like I don't know, I feel like it looked a little bit different online when I was like looking at project photos and stuff like that. I was like, I feel like it looked a little bit more like darker green, so I don't know if I'm gonna like it. Yeah, also in terms of just like subbing out the yarn, like here's 3 strands of like black together versus 2 strands of, ignore how grown out my nails are. I don't know if I can get them to like bunch together for me. I definitely feel like the alpaca is still going to be like a little bit thicker than it needs to be, but I don't know, we'll see how it turns out. But that's what I plan to do with the green. So I also picked up some of the alpaca in the color, number 03 gray. And this one I plan to pair with some of the Drops alpaca yarn. So the alpaca is 100% alpaca, it's sport weight, and this one is in the color number 506, a dark gray. So I bought 9 balls of this, 8 balls of this. I'm going to pair these 2 together. Now, I don't know if I'm really going to get the desired result that I wanted from these 2 yarns together. This is a really hard decision to make. So first of all, sorry, the cost for this one, I got this for $3.05 US, $4.75 Australian, including shipping. This is $5.56 per ball of yarn. So the pattern that I'm looking at is the Dublin cardigan by Amelia Jensen. And the main reason I like this particular pattern was because of the like yarn that she's used and that kind of TV static appearance that it has. But like the actual yarn that she's used is not accessible to me, and I couldn't find like anything like similar, so I was like, maybe I'll just mull 2 yarns together and make it like that effect. But I was looking for projects where people have mulled together like dark greys and like beiges or whites and all that type of stuff. And I found like when people do mulled fabrics, like the lighter color seems to dominate and the darker color seems to be a little bit less. I don't know like what makes that effect or how to adjust it or anything like that. I feel like the right way to get the mull that I want would be to have 2 dark strands and 1 light strand, but I don't want 3 strands to hold together in order to achieve this effect. So yeah, I was like looking at other people's projects, trying to find any mulled tops and jumpers and anything like that, so I could see what color combinations people used. And ultimately, I landed on a dark grey with a grey to get my kind of mulled effect. To be honest, I don't think it's going to really achieve the same look as like the cardigan that I really want. I feel like mine's going to come out a lot more grey. This dark grey looked a lot darker online and like on people's projects and stuff like that. It looked almost black. And so then I was like, with the light grey, we'll give like that kind of like mulled effect. To be honest, I feel like the black with the dark grey would probably look a little bit better. Or even like black and grey. Maybe that's a little bit too much contrast on that one. But yeah, anyways, this is the combo that I'm going to go with. I think I'm just going to like knit up a gauge swatch and see what it looks like knit up, because this one's actually like a mixed color, and to be honest, I kind of just like the yarn by itself, if I'm being real, because it's got that kind of those lighter flecks already in this yarn. I don't necessarily feel like it needs anything to go with it, but it's not as dark as I was kind of hoping it was going to be. So there's that. But yeah, that's going to turn into a Dublin cardigan probably. That pattern as well is going to be a difficult pattern because I'm hoping that these 2 weights together are going to hit gauge. So I definitely need to gauge swatch for that one because it's meant to be, I think, a worsted weight overall. And it's also in a foreign language as well. I can't remember what language it is in, but I've already run like through ChatGPT and it seems to be translating it okay. So that's going to be a risky pattern to make, I have a feeling, but we're going to attempt it. So that's everything that I've purchased in my latest yarn haul. Everything's going towards, it's like top ups. We've got what, 2 other jumpers, and then we've got a couple cardigans, 3 cardigans as well. So 3 cardigans, plus I've already got yarn for another cardigan on hold. So we've got 4 cardigans in stash at the moment. That's a lot. Anyways, I'm not 100% sold on all of these patterns. So if you have made something with any of these yarns and you've got some better ideas and some cool patterns, drop them down below, because my mind might just suddenly change and I might make something else. I'm feeling a little bit less precious about this yarn and having to use them dedicated for something. I feel like I can just make it work and order more. Now that I've done a second order of drops yarn and the colors being like the same, I'm like a little bit less concerned for like future orders, even though I know dye lots is still like definitely a risk that you play with, like having to buy more yarn at a later date. But now that I've done it once, I feel a little bit more comfortable possibly having to order more yarn in order to do like maybe 2 projects with that color, or like do something totally different and make the yarn work. Most of these yarns are fairly like dark colors, so I feel like that's favorable to making it more easier too. But yeah, anyways, that's it for this particular haul. As always, when I get around to making all of these projects, there will be project vlogs for them. Some of them will already be out before I post this particular video. So yeah, stay tuned for those, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys. Oh, yarn. Pattern, like holy moly, it's wild. Have I got enough memory on my phone? I don't even know. Oh my gosh, it's a motorbike. But I was like, I can just hold 2 strands. Okay, where am I going with this? True, trickle. Is it Tricot design? Is that how you say it properly? Don't know. Oh my gosh, my leg is numb. I sat cross-legged for too long.